with Polygon Pythagoras. Meta math, yeah, crypto cash. Yeah, I seen the metaverse through MetaTope, my eyes a megaphone. Customize my empty skin to optimize my flesh and bone. Phase 1, evolution, revolution. Smart contracts inside your smartphone. Phase 1, evolution, revolution. Help me CT's phone. Full body markerless motion capture. The metaverse broken after the MetaTope golden era. The whitelist still open, hurry up what you need, golden chariot. Holy virgins that's holding cherubims, paving the road with fairy dust. Create the avatar of your wildest dreams, yeah. And use it inside your live stream. And all your metaverses, favorite games and widescreen. MetaTope, visualize your digital ID.
Ow! If you are not early, you're late, guys. It is 6 p.m. Eastern, and we are here on the 37th edition of TopeTalk. Please take a moment, retweet, like the space, throw it out, guys, and let's get it going. We have some amazing speakers in here today. First on the intro, we've got BAYC Joker. He has a great viewpoint as a consumer and an investor, extensive experience in the financial market for Web 2 and Web 3. Joker currently runs a Web 3 fund. So hit him up if you want to lose money. Ooh! Next, we have Fiddy.et is the founder of Apocalyptic Apes, a Big Spaces host, and a BAYC fiend. Fiddy has an abundance of Web 2 and Web 3 experience and is the master of IRL integrations with Web 3 IP. They've got hot sauce cookies, and I don't even know what else this man's cooking up, but it's gonna be great. We've got Evan in here. We're gonna bring him up. Evan is a newlywed Ute Maxi. I mean, god dang, look at that one of one. I didn't even like Papa, and he's making me want to go green. Bermuda. We gotta get him up here. We can't give him an introduction if he's not on the panel. Where you at, Bermuda? We're waiting on you, baby. All right, well, he'll be up in a minute. Bermuda, he's a legend in the space. And he's an absolute top-notch consultant and advisor in Web3. Guys, before we continue, I just want to give a quick disclosure. This is not financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes and to have fun, guys. Please do your own research. Consult a financial advisor before you make any decisions. And I have a very good feeling that we're not going to be up here telling you what to do with your money. We just want to offer some perspective and have a good time, right? That's what it's about. So today we are going to discuss the future of Web3 and Twitter, along with the shifting landscape of creator royalties and so much more. Without further ado, let's dive in to the MetaTope. Twitter has a track record with their Web3 integrations. If you didn't know, Elon's bullish. From cryptocurrency tipping, Web3 DApp integrations, NFT profile pictures, Elon Musk has even considered using crypto microtransactions to limit spam. What is next for this platform? Let's find out. For the speaker panel, what do you think will be the next Web3 integration for Twitter?
Yo, first of all, I want to say don't do your own research. Just ape in. That's all you got to do. Secondly, to Walker and Jordan, thanks for having me up here. As you know, I rarely contribute any original thoughts. So I'd first like to start by talking about just how beautiful both of our co-hosts and founders are. Like, if you haven't seen these guys in person, let me tell you, I mean, this is like an OnlyFans jackpot here. So if you can actually find their channel, like, definitely mash that subscribe button. So I don't know what the hell Twitter is going to do. We all know some integration's coming, but it just depends on when Elon Musk smokes a joint and changes his mind, apparently, these days.
Oh man, we know what happens to the Tesla stock when Elon gets on Joe Rogan. What a day that was. What a day that was. For the other speakers on the panel who don't have their mind in the gutter, what do we see next? Where do we see Twitter going? I mean, there's all these talks. We know the monetization for creators is right around the corner for this platform. But what will be the next step in the Web3 journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of first, yes. Also, thank you for the introduction, the smooth criminal that you are, Walker. Well, we know about Twitter Coin. We've heard about Twitter Coin, and I think what's cool is just like NFT Inspect, where you can kind of see what engagement is happening across the projects and the platforms. You have a similar thing with Spaces hosts, and I think in the future there could be some sort of way to monetize Spaces, but the next integration probably is going to be some sort of wallet. I mean, we have that Wallet Connect, which gives us the PFP, the hexagon, which is cool. And I think they're going to layer on top of that. I made a new Instagram this past week, and it's a Web3 Instagram. It's literally my name. It's Ramito on IG. And what's cool is that like you can do the digital collectibles on there, and the digital collectibles on there. It's nice because in a world of scammers and people that will just screenshot everything, to be able to actually verify that those are your PFPs, you now know which people to follow. So I think a wallet, but I'm not 100% on that because he still hasn't gotten past the bots. And I like what you mentioned about having to pay a small microtransaction to try to circumvent the bots, but just a little like thought.
It's really interesting that you bring that up, Bermuda, because some of like the top investigators have actually went through and read some of the open source logs that Twitter is producing, and that's what they're speculating is that the next move will be a crypto Twitter wallet. What the claims are, and these are very unsubstantiated because nobody else can verify that these are open source. Nobody else has been able to verify that like what the claims are even true. This has been a credible source in the past, and what they're saying is that they have evidence that Twitter has built out the infrastructure for a wallet to buy and store funds. From what I understand, there's no transfers yet to buy and store funds, which is really really interesting as we step in to the space. And I mean, we all know like how involved that Elon has become in the space. So how long do you guys? Because it's a ticking time bomb, right? How long do you think it will be before we see a crypto wallet on Twitter?
I mean, honestly, dude, like you're talking about a massive integration. But the thing that I always remember is right after the acquisition, took place, there was a short story that talked about A16Z devoting some of their team members. And if anybody knows A16Z, those guys are ham on the, crypto blockchain side of things. So if they've actually given genuine resources to building it out, and they've got portfolio companies on it, it's going to move a hell of a lot faster than anybody expects, but still you're talking about a massive integration that, for them to really properly monetize it and everything that Elon throws out there, like, I mean, I've got to say a year from when they first start building it, I couldn't possibly conceive that they'd be able to build it any quicker.
Well, and I mean, isn't there a world, Joker, where the news gets around, to companies like Circle, who are heavily involved with MetaMask, and they say, hey, here's an opportunity for us to give Twitter a portion of the user fees as a transaction is occurring and stop them from moving users out of our platform.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're going to want to fight that, for instance, but that's why I think it makes, way more sense for Elon to have an absolute native wallet, for instance, because if that's going to be the way to capture, fees and everything else, then that's, his whole purpose has been about how do I genuinely monetize it? And I can't see them doing like an open source thing where MetaMask is the wallet. Everything would have to be developed and built in-house.
But I mean, isn't that one of the problems in Web3? Like this broken user experience. I feel like the last thing we need is another wallet to have to interact with, right? I mean, if I put it in context, like if I had a crypto Twitter wallet that was disconnected from my current like MetaMask or whatever network I'm on, I may have like a few dollars in there, right? Like how is that really gonna work for the end user?
Look, I mean, I think what we're missing, right, is like, the ultimate way that this all works and that like regular people come into the ecosystem is when, people are using crypto without realizing that they're using crypto and that the integration is essentially seamless where you don't need to set up a metamask and connect your wallet with all these different things. Twitter's going to make that, if this really is their mission, such that people have a built-in wallet, they don't have to do shit to set up, and it just records a certain amount of Twitter coins within there that are exchangeable for fiat to some degree. So I mean, I think every major company sees this, particularly gaming businesses, where you want to have it so easy that people come in and they don't even realize you're riding on the rails of crypto in any degree.
You're so right, and we talk about this track of mass adoption all the time, and that is exactly how we're going to get there, making that user experience so seamless that individuals do not even know that they're interacting with a blockchain. The founder of Metatope, Jordan Young, he says that all the time, and it's really true. It's one of our big ethos in the products that we produce. Does anybody on this speaker panel disagree that Twitter is moving towards a wallet? Okay. So that's settled. We all think that this is the direction that one of, honestly, I believe the most important platforms in Web3 currently is moving towards a wallet. It's really interesting. Another potential topic that we looked at for this space was the leaked tweets between Jack Dorsey and Elon. And essentially, what those were speaking on were the ideals of Twitter, the issues that Twitter had encountered by becoming a company, and how important it was for this type of for this type of central hub, for this type of community hall to be a resilient protocol, much like Bitcoin is. And so as we move into this more Web3 centric internet, this more Web3 integrated Twitter, what crypto do you guys think that Twitter will adopt?
Their own coin. They're going to
Yeah,
build their own
they're
coin.
gonna do Twitter coin. Yeah, that's pretty much like what's been the rumor for at least the past couple of months. Because if they do Doge or anything else, it just becomes like the SEC starts stepping in. Elon can't say what he wants. We don't want that, right? Like, we want Elon to be able to freely speak. It is his own platform. Twitter coin can kind of integrate with a lot of different things, like I was saying earlier. And I think when you kind of take a step back and you look at Dookie Dash and you look at like what Joker was saying about, you want to get it to the point where people don't even really know that they're interacting with Web3. A lot of the Fortnite pros and top 0.1% of gamers hated NFTs because they felt that it was something that would ruin gaming. And that tone for them changed very, very quickly when they realized the money that they can make. And speaking to these guys, the conversation was just simply, oh man, I heard about it. I realized all my friend group was getting in on it. I was a week late, and I got in on it, and now they're crushing it. And I think something similar will happen with Twitter, where Twitter coin will come out, people will monetize it, people will be making a bag on it, and you'll have influencers from Instagram or TikTok or whatever other platform say, wait a second, what's Twitter doing? Oh wait, you're telling me I can go over there and I can monetize this because they have a wallet? Okay, well, just let me do this. And there will be some big players that come over here, and the same thing I think will happen. I don't think it's going to happen in by summer, but I think it'll slowly happen to the point where it's almost like the day that we woke up and we ate, and all these hexagons were there, and I was like, well, what the hell is this? It'll be just like the same sort of thing. You wake up one day and there's a little button that you've never seen before, and you click that button and it interacts with your watch. That I think that's kind of what'll happen. It'll be like an overnight switch because Elon's like that.
I love that. I love that. Bermuda, there's a couple things that I really want to unpack there because you brought up some really important points. Before I do, is there anybody on the speaker panel that has anything to add? I know a lot of times things move very fast. I just want to give a moment for anybody to bring up any past thoughts. Perfect. Let's keep it rolling, baby. So Bermuda, I've got two questions for you, and I'm not going to double you up. For anybody in the audience, that's a very, very bad thing to do. Ask one question and then move on to the next. All right, like in really in any conversation, if you're trying to move somebody through an issue or get them to a result, or just have a productive conversation. So number one, you talked about the potential issues with Twitter integrating something like Dogecoin, right, like SEC issues with Dogecoin versus Twitter coin. So in my view, they would have far less potential SEC regulation and issues if they integrated a decentralized token such as Dogecoin versus launching their own ICO. So I'm interested on where your viewpoint is there.
Yeah.
Why is there less legality in a Twitter ICO coin?
No, that's actually a really good point that you bring up. You might be right there because I don't know. I don't know enough about. I know when ApeCoin launched, they couldn't do a token. They had to make it a coin. There was some very detailed legal jargon that I can go over with you right now that I'm not even really knowledgeable enough to answer this question, to be honest. I think that you're right. Maybe if there was a way, but what would it be? What would it be then? ETH? Like what would it? How do you reward? My problem with that though is just like, how do you reward the people that have been here since day one? Like, how do you reward all those? Where's the snapshot? How does the versus if Twitter coin, then you can look at minutes on spaces or engagement or posts or whatever the metric is, and then you could say, all right, if you've hosted a space, check. If you've posted 1,000 tweets, check. If you've posted a video, check. And like if you meet all these checks, your airdrop is a little higher. I don't know, man. I have really no idea. Airdrops are not really a thing in the US anymore. Is Twitter in the US? Yeah, Elon's in the US. I have no idea. There's a lot of question marks at like every turn. So maybe somebody else wants to jump in.
Yeah, man. It's not like a really black and white discussion. And the way that I view it is Dogecoin. Let's just throw that out there. They have an infinite supply, right? To my latest understanding of the way that the tokenomics are set up. And so, with how close Elon's tied in with Dogecoin, right? The publicity that he could bring back to that network, as we saw. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I like Elon, but seeing that phase of him did make me question his motives in some ways, right? Like you're one of the richest. I don't think he was the richest man in the world at the time. You're one of the richest people in the world, and you take your influence, you take your power, and you direct it towards a network. You get on SNL and you give a top signal, and you have all of these unknowing, these a lot of like young people who are invested in this because of you, and you just tank them with a network that really has very little underlying utility to the current point. So with Elon though, with a Twitter token integration, I think there would be far less legal allegations potentially by them using a decentralized network that's much more difficult to attack versus launching a Twitter token. Right? Like as you said, Rubin, it's very hard to do airdrops here. So and how would that look? Right? Is Twitter more likely to drop a Twitter ICO token and leave all of these people that Elon strung along onto Dogecoin high and dry? Like what is more likely in your opinion?
I'm almost like at the point of like, why even pick a coin? Maybe they don't do either. Maybe they just create the wallet and then leave it up to the people, right? Maybe that's what they do. Why would they need to choose a coin? I'm interested to hear like what your take is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they, because they've said that, the intent, right, is that you're going to get paid, based on your tweets. And I don't see Elon like shipping dollars to people. So, you know, I think, you know, we know that Elon's been very public about Dogecoin and so on, and it's almost become a running joke at this stage. But we also know that if he has the ability to create a $2 to $3 billion token, and have Twitter essentially sit on 15% of that float locked up and create value there, that's too big of an opportunity, to ignore, versus having some pseudo allegiance, to idiots that bought Dogecoin just because Elon told them to. So I really believe that, they will create their own token. And just like, Yuga tweeted about, their token, what was it, like Octoberish, of 21, and didn't drop it until, was it Marchish? That's because it takes so much legal work to do these things properly. And I've got to imagine that's at least 12 to 18 months now, given the regulatory, climate. I would love if somebody was able to like dig up, because I'm too lazy, if, Elon has a relationship with Fenwick West, because that's, the absolute point person, when it comes to tokenomics and doing things properly. So just my 10 cents.
Well, and both I heard you and Bermuda both say something so interesting to me. These are two very, very intelligent Board of Yacht Club members, right? This is not a Yuga token, from my understanding. ApeCoin is not an official Yuga token.
No, you're correct, dude. I mean, but the reality, right, is like Yuga was the ones that paid to have this put out there. They structured it so they wouldn't have any control, but they retained 15% of the coins, in their wallets. So that's the benefit that they have, of which, right, it's this bet that 5 years from now that token will be, that of the metaverse. So they didn't just do it for free per se, but they created it such that it removed them from governance and allowed it to be this nonprofit community-based DAO, that they will ultimately profit from if the price of ApeCoin winds up going up. So I see a similar play in Twitter's, playbook in that case, because the way they benefit, right, is the adoption of this token, the use of it, and the proliferation of it, possibly beyond Twitter and into other social media companies. So, and then you take into consideration that they've talked at length about really bringing video content back to Twitter. And so if they create, bring back Vines or whatever it winds up being, and now they're paying creators, on the spot in Twitter token, do we really think that TikTok stars won't see that and be like, holy shit, I can get
Right.
paid by
That's
doing
exactly what
this?
I'm saying. That was the point I was trying to bring up before, is that people will wake up and they'll come back to Twitter. So, or
100%.
all the other big boys say, oh, wait, we need to do the same thing as well. And then that starts the
But
mass adoption.
yeah, but it's, at that point, right? Like, if they wake up, it'll still take
Right.
them 6 to 18 months to catch up if they're not already doing something. And at that time, the ocean of content will have shifted back. And so I think this is a much deeper play, like you're saying, Bermuda, that's, it's about pulling the content creators back here. The best way to do that was with fucking magic internet money.
Well, you guys absolutely did an amazing job at transitioning the topic. While we're talking about how is the monetization going to happen, what is the power of internet money? Well, guys, let me tell you, Blur has everyone dropping it low, from the floor prices to the fees. Dad, is this the bottom? OpenSea looks like they're making the Web3 version of Tom and Jerry, with 0% fees, no creator royalties, and a new table mode. What's next? Even with all these antics by OpenSea, Blur is still maintaining approximately 75% of the NFT sell volume.
Not gonna,
To the speaker panel, is this sustainable for the
not gonna
industry?
last for long. After Blur's second airdrop, I don't know, man. It's not looking good. If you look at, I think it's the top 100 holders own like 25% of the coin, or top 50 holders own like, it's just that there's so much. That coin is going to crash unless they continue to provide value at the pace that they are providing value. Otherwise, to me, it's the same as Looks Rare. Looks Rare was on top. We had these same conversations for Looks Rare. And after 6 months of Looks Rare really kind of putting in a pretty good beating on OpenSea, that was it. And now they're just a tertiary, even probably deeper than that, option. So I don't know. I like the fact that they are a market aggregator. They took what Gem XYZ did and they kind of, leveled that up, and it is a great place to use. But as far as the token itself, I really would like to see what they can do past season 2, because right now this leaderboard that we see is just all back and forth trading, and it's good in a sense if you want instant liquidity. If I say, you know what, man, I bought my mutant ape and I'm just gonna floor it, you can do that, and you don't really have to worry about undercutting and somebody else undercuts, and now all of a sudden the floor keeps dipping. But if you have something with a specific trait, it's going to be a lot harder to sell that. So we'll see.
Yeah, and echoing that, Bermuda, right? Like, this race to zero is, you know, uh, you know, makes me think that ultimately neither one of these marketplaces exist in 5 years. All this did was accelerate the pace at which Yuga is building the Agora to move all of their collections, ultimately off of this into their own marketplace and incentivize it with ApeCoin. And like several of the large companies that we back, this only further accelerated their desire to create their own marketplaces. And specifically in gaming, that winds up being the biggest possible money opportunity that they've got. So, like, you know the bottom line is, yeah, I mean, OpenSea fucked up by just being themselves. Blur only made their eventuality come that much quicker. But you know what else is Blur going to offer? Like, my bet is 6 months from now, none of us are talking about Blur or OpenSea. It's all focused on the Agora.
Whoa, wait. What is Agora?
Agora is the Yuga marketplace, and the other side that they've referenced, throughout, the threads about other side, and that is ultimately going to be the place where you're going to be trading assets and resources and everything else, and most likely every form of different, type of thing that exists, for apes, mutants, punks,
It's an
whatever it is. But
exchange.
when you think
Yeah.
about, yeah, I mean, like if you think about, like New Tokyo, the 10 KTF shop, like if that is also a marketplace inside of, the other side for fashion wearables and so on inside of the metaverse, and everything becomes so centrally driven on the other side's API because it's open for all other creators. I think the potential long play win for Yuga here is dominating the marketplace, because why the fuck would you leave that ecosystem and go to a blur? So
That's a great take. That's a great take. Dude, I really actually like that because there's there's the SDK kits. And so as people bring in their own NFTs and then probably create NFTs inside of that network, the Agora will be the play. I just tweeted, bro. I was like, my biggest L that I've had is the chance to buy the Agora.eth. I was watching it for months and I had the chance to buy it for $200. But the way that ENS works is every 24 hours, the price gets cut in half. So I watched it go from, it starts at 100 million to 50 million to all the way down to $200. I said, if I wait till tomorrow, it'll be $100. And of course, it sold to somebody else. But I had the chance to own the Agora.eth. So every time I hear that name, I just like, oh, it's like an X.
hey, bro, we all take L's, and at least yours are financial instead of dating, like the story of my life. So when you take 2 L's with ex-wives, it's even more expensive.
Oh, God. God bless your soul.
I'm
No,
here
guys.
to amuse, enrich, and entertain, to borrow a phrase from the Motley Fool.
You're a legend. Both of you guys, and I appreciate you being here so much. You're bringing a ton of value to my life, and I hope to all the individuals who are here. So my question about our work, because this is new to me. I mean, I'm literally here googling it right now. Do you believe that this will sustain like the volume and the dominance over OpenSea? And if so, how?
Look, I mean, what I'm really trying to say is, if the four biggest collections by volume in NFTs are, punks, apes, mutants, and the other side, and then we've got mechs that exist and clothes and all these other pieces. And that leaves, OpenSea or Blur entirely because they issue a new ERC, for instance. Um, it would be absolutely devastating to either one. And Yuga doesn't really give a shit because they're not looking to profit, off of marketplace fees. They just want their creator royalties. So if they also incentivize that through Ape and the other side and use of that.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I think we lost BAYC Joker.
I'm back. Somebody
I
was
wonder.
calling me and it rugged me, bro.
Oh,
No, but you bring up a good point, man. You were basically talking about the punks and apes, and well, they've just done so well with like their marketing and with the other side, and kind of looking even at like their acquisition of 10KTF and how they kind of collaborate with everybody. I mean, they've done such a good job at being the main character in the story. And so if you have an alliance with all of the top NFT blue chip communities in Web3, and then you decide to create your marketplace inside of other side, yeah, why would you need OpenSea? Right? I mean,
Well, especially when like OpenSea has been fucking all these other
you
major
yeah, I
collections
mean, and
along
let's
with
be
Blur.
clear,
It,
when it comes to blue chip NFTs that are characters, why would you need OpenSea? If you want to drop an art collection or you want to drop, something, okay, no problem. Go to OpenSea. But for these top communities, I could see that happening. I don't know about CloneX though. Like CloneX seems to be kind of making something that looks a little similar to Agoda, and they're having their own metaverse. So like, it's not going to be for everything, I don't think, but And then it begs the question,
Yeah,
because
but
then
I
you had
mean,
this weird
like
dichotomy
Nike
of
is.
like, you had this weird back and forth with Decentraland and Sandbox, where like Sandbox owned Decentraland land and Decentraland owned Sandbox land, and then they were like, so you want to have land in your competitor's metaverse? Like, does CloneX then build on the other side? Does like there's it goes deep.
No, and I think you make a good point, right? And I'm never one to fade Nike because, pump my bags for shareholders of Nike for my public investment clients. But the reality, right, is like Nike has shot themselves so much in the foot with Artifact and the nonstop mints and cash grabs. And sure, I think that they're going to have a super dope metaverse, but like at what cost? Like, I mean, you just see, the floor just continuing to tank and Murakami's selling, for a fraction of what they used to. Can they recover? Maybe. But you look at the doodles of the world, like I think it's just too focused on Web 2 while ignoring the base of what put them there.
So I want to throw this out there, and Enzo, actually Enzo, let's go to you. What's up, brother?
Hello. I actually had a point about making your own marketplace because I think I said this last week, but I come from AVAX, and there's a project on AVAX that like built their own marketplace from the very beginning, and from the very beginning till now, they've been able to make 548,860 AVAX in secondary sales, and they get it 6% of that. I think that's what it's up to right now is 6%. And yeah, they like all that goes right back into reinvesting into the project. And there's no other marketplace, and they've been able to kill it on volume. They're the number one traded collection on AVAX, even though they're not really listed on like marketplaces on AVAX. They have their own marketplace in their website. So yeah, it takes a minute to find, unless like you're not gonna go on OpenSea and find them. So you would have to like go on Twitter and find them through Twitter and like the community talking about them or joining a space and they're talking about it. So it gets a bit more difficult to find unless you're already part of the community. But I think it's a great way to keep the liquidity in house. So yeah, I honestly am all for everyone taking control of their royalties and of their own marketplace instead of having a third party using a third party for a marketplace.
No, and it's a really good point, but I think like unless your name is big enough, like we can see with the Yugas, the Nikes, and so on, um, getting recognition, like having to find them on Twitter, is damn near impossible. And so, you know, if it's a Yuga that shifts outside, because we remember that it was, Yuga's comments about royalties that caused OpenSea to back down last time. And now OpenSea is basically given the finger to their biggest customer. What do you think the reaction is? Like you saw the tweet from 10KTF last week that, basically trolled, OpenSea's announcements about 0%. So, who knows when the other side is fully playable and Agora finally comes. But when it does, like it will be death to the major marketplaces.
So I want to throw out there, and I want to hear more from you, Joker, and then I want to go to Anon. So we talked about the Nike, and my interest with Nike. You said, hey, I'm never going to fade them. There's opportunity. Even with all these drops. I mean, you look at a legacy brand of that caliber. Arguably one of the most powerful in the world. All of the deals that they have, the celebrity talent, the influence, the connections. I mean, I feel like it's the drop of a pin. And somebody like Nike could, inject the influence that it would take to really catapult this industry, not even to, take over the attention that's there, but to give it way more attention than it currently has. And we'll come back to that point. Anon, how are you doing, brother? This is an absolute legend, guys. He's a curator of community and culture, a friend, and a thought leader in the space. Let's get it going.
Yo, what's going on? So, TopeTalk episode 37. Wow. It took me 37 episodes to get an invite. No, I'm just messing with you. Hey, I appreciate the invite. I apologize. I just got out of a meeting, but I definitely want to add to this conversation. It's a topic that's pretty personal to me. So I would say about 6 months ago, I transitioned away from like DGen NFT Twitter and started to focus more so on like digital art Web3 Twitter, connecting with artists, connecting with like real collectors and enthusiasts and trad art people and people that come from galleries and curation. And it's a very different world. Appreciate that. But no, I mean, it's just a different approach, right? I'm not saying that my path is right and someone else's is wrong. We're all here to do something different. That's cool. But they do share a very different perspective when it comes to distribution, when it comes to the marketing and the proliferation of the NFTs and, you know, the underlying art, and it being about the art and not just about the market and about the floor price and about, you know, the flip and whatever else and the utility, right? Like I own a shirt from Drifter Shoots and Atom Bomb Squad did a collab, and it says utility D's nuts, because Drift put out an open edition before open editions were even popular, and it was I believe it was 0.11 or 0.22, and it hovered around mint, and then it went a little under mint after it closed, and people freaked out on him. And he was like, what do you want from me? Like, you just got a piece of my art, a piece of my soul for like a crazy entry price that you all should be appreciative of, like considering his accomplishments, his story, his level of curation with all the rest of his art. And like people weren't appreciative because, again, it wasn't about the art necessarily. And so now let's look at the current situation with the marketplaces. OpenSea and Blur, in my opinion, represents like, you know, two birds of the same feather, two feathers of the same bird, however it goes, you know, two sides of the same coin. Ultimately, what they're doing is they are ratioing everything else. Like it's like a collective monopoly on distribution and on secondary purchasing or secondary transactions, as well as all the, you know, the conversation about the protection of royalties. And so one thing that I've said for a long time is you cannot put all NFTs through the same lens. And so while yes, in theory, it would be amazing if all these independent artists and all of these you know, like grassroots, community-led projects were able to establish their own like autonomous ecosystems with a marketplace, the likelihood of them being able to sustain on their own financially to be able to like continue to run that, and also to be able to actually market it and get it out there where people know about it and are able to like see that it exists, to be able to, you know, interact with it in the first place, is a challenge. And that is really where OpenSea and Blur have not just an edge right now, but they have an advantage that might kind of be like it's already too late, because it's really hard for people to consider something new when they already have like as much like market share as they do. And it's because of the marketing, the algorithms. Like there's so many things that go into the propping up, the establishing, like the reinforcing of what they have what they have like presented us as far as what this ecosystem looks like right now. And unfortunately, unless you get a huge group collectively of like say artists that are saying, yeah, we're not going to play that game, we're going to only support this marketplace, this, you know, new ecosystem, like we're completely circumventing that, and we're going to use contracts that protect where it can only be you can only transact within this marketplace, within this ecosystem. Well, that is a level of centralization, right? And you like, so you start to get in those gray areas of, is it decentralized? Is it autonomous? Like, what's the lesser of the two evils? So I'm just kind of presenting a bunch of different talking points, and hopefully, you know, everyone else can kind of fill in the blanks, because I think there is a lot of value to this conversation, but I don't think it's as easy as just, hey, let's do things independently, because unfortunately there's a lot of challenges and adversity that's going to go into that.
Dude, 100%, and couldn't agree more. And I think especially, it's really important to underscore the point that there are very few projects, companies that can stand alone. And I think you can count them on your hand, right? And so that's why it is really important that you've got marketplaces that, for artists and other people to be able to have their stuff on it, but that also honor royalties, because unfortunately the greed factor of most humans, is such that when they're given the opportunity to, pay full royalties or keep it all for themselves, like, I mean, we humans are filthy, dirty creatures ruled by greed and fear. And I've got to bet that 90% of people will say, of course I'll honor the royalties. But when they've got the choice of, getting an extra ETH for themselves or paying the artist, they're going to be like, I really want that 1,600 extra dollars. So, one of the things that I wanted to mention, right, is that, there's an attorney that's been building a new ERC token that's, backed by consensus, I believe. And the contract itself automatically enforces royalties. It's super, decentralized and so on. And while I'm no expert when it comes to these sort of things, I think we're going to see an innovation like that, allow, artists who create and are rightfully entitled to receive what they're due, because again, very, very few places can actually stand on their own because they are their own ecosystem.
So I just wanted to add one thing that I had left out before that I think is really critical to this conversation, which is the presence and the necessity for markets that are still this immature, that are still this infantile, relatively to that of like a real market. You need market makers. Market makers are what is really moving the needle right now. It's what's making the difference. It's what's giving the reinforcement of sentiment for people to even feel comfortable trading in the first place. But what Blur was able to expose, and it was always the case, it wasn't like this is anything new. They just were able to expose that we have a very top-heavy market. That people, and this is not any shade, this isn't any sort of bias, this is just to say who they are, that people like Machi and Franklin literally control the market for all of us. And Blur exposed that. And now they're, quite frankly, they're exploiting it. They're taking advantage of the system that's been provided to them. And you know what? Decentralization maxi here, all the power to them, because those are the systems that we've accepted as a community. We've given a social contract as a community that we're okay with this. We are continuing to participate. And until there really is some sort of like huge consciousness shift within Web3, this will continue to happen. And it will likely continue to get worse, where that top 1% is only going to further themselves further and further away from the rest of us. And it will just be the same as any other traditional market.
Wow,
Dude, like
that
spot
is
on
a very powerful perspective. And I really appreciate that. And you've offered a lot of value to this conversation. And there has to be a balance. Right? We have to find as a community where it makes sense. And we're seeing, we asked about the sustainability of Blur. What does this model look like for the industry long term? And it's absolutely tanking floor prices. It's tanking, valuations and commitment from community members, because they're hurting, because a few people at the top, are taking all these profits. And I want to ask, Enzo, I'd love to go to you. And also, is anybody on the speaker panel, are you engaging? And this is not a derogatory question, because I'm very interested, because I have not myself, and I feel like I missed out. Has anybody engaged with the airdrops from Blur?
I have.
And how is that going, Fiddy? Like, what does that look like for you?
So I didn't really know much about Blur. I don't really like it. To me, it looks like you're signing into some kind of a weird database. It's very there's a lot of stuff going on, but
The back end.
yeah, it's not my vibe. But when I got these boxes, and I got dropped about 3,000 Blur, $3,000 worth of Blur. I cashed it out and flipped it into ApeCoin. I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't really like these guys exploiting and showing publicly what they're doing. I mean, I think somebody's going to go to jail. Personally, I think it's stupid. I think it's basically uh, wash trading at its finest. I mean, this is pretty much what Martha Stewart went to jail for. So I think somebody's going to catch on to it and they're going to fix it, because I think that we all talk about artists in the space, but I had a call with a buddy of mine who's got a great project, and he uses his royalties to pay salaries and hires people in the community managers. When that stops, what happens to the project? Now they've got to take it out of their pocket or start letting people go. So you can't just manipulate a system and say, okay, you've charging 6%, 7% royalties. Now we're just going to cut it off and we're going to charge 0%. But then when you go to OpenSea, it's actually charging 0.05, which doesn't make any sense at all. But I think this is pure market manipulation. I actually think it might be illegal what Blur and what OpenSea have done.
Well, and it's such a good point, dude, because you look at, like, what do you think Gary Gensler and, everybody with the SEC, because they obviously have people actively monitoring crypto Twitter, and, they see the numbers, that Franklin has put up, or some of these other really big whales who are obviously, here in the US. So, like, if they can come and take down, put shots on Binance, for instance, in the state of New York, I have to believe that, Blur is already in their crosshairs. And unfortunately, it's like, because we can't regulate ourselves, you have to have the government come in and clean up another shit show that we've created. Unfortunate.
You're not wrong. I just want to add to that one quick thing. Gabriel Layden had actually talked about this just a couple weeks ago, and I called him out on it, and I was like, wait, you're basically encouraging churn and burn. I said, I come from the world of sales, and that's like one of the first no-nos in sales. Like, that's one of the things you'll get called out for, especially in retail, is churn and burn, which is artificial volume. Basically, that it's wash trading, and you're saying, well, yeah, but it's stimulating the market as a whole. Like, it's putting up big numbers. It's, and like, all of that is fake. All of that is not sustainable because it doesn't start with something authentic in the first place. So, like, I describe that. I've been saying it. It's a ticking time bomb. It really is. And then I'll take it one step further. What it really does is it starts to question the idea of non-fungibility, because if you have a collection that, say, a year plus ago was being more revered individually for its traits and its rarity and things like that, and now you have a very prominent duo or tandem of collectors that said, you know what, 6,000 ETH of Yuga Labs and associated other blue chips, yeah, we're just going to dump them all right into the liquidity. We don't care what the traits are. We don't care about the IP. That is a signal to everyone else for them to then question the sentiment. And if you keep on moving, I mean, look, Fiddy's agreeing with me because Fiddy understands this. Like, Fiddy is a founder. Like, he gets what's happening here. This is a very, like, precarious trend that we're on, as far as, and quite frankly, the marketplaces, I kind of think that they're playing into it. And that, like, if you look at, like, we were talking about the UI of OpenSea, the default just changed. And it just changed where all those images are now thumbnails. What that says to anyone on the outside is we do not really care about those pictures. We do not care about the art. We care about the market. You know what that is? Trading securities.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And if you look at, like, OpenSea right now, if you look at Azuki, Moonbirds, Mutants, Bored Apes, Kennel Clubs, there's 500 traded of Moonbirds. There's 253 Mutant Club traded. There are let's see, 44 Bored Apes Yacht Club traded, and the floor price doesn't go up, doesn't go down. It's completely manipulated. It just stays there. But yet the volume is almost 4,000 ETH on Mutant Yacht Club. And if you go to the transaction, all you'll see is 150 dogs that were purchased by Machi. And again, I don't have a problem with Machi. I don't have a problem with Franklin. I like Franklin. I've talked to him on the phone. He's a good dude. But I just think it's pretty stupid because this system is completely manipulated, and it's actually given us a bad look. And if we were to bring people to Web3, they would look at this and say, this is not even real. This is just a bunch of BS. So I think this is a bad look on Web3.
Dude, spot on. Like, it is just straight up embarrassing. And again, it's like, what are humans going to do? They're going to game the system that was created. And now we're just, looking even more infantile than we were 6 months ago. So something will give. But again, I do think that all this bullshit that's, happening between both of these powerful marketplaces only accelerates Yuga's dominance in terms of, taking their shit to their own place. So, but like Anand said, like, where does that leave the genuine creators, the artists, the people that depend on this for royalties? It leaves them up shit creek, and that part just really sucks.
Thank you, guys. This is an amazing conversation. I want to respect the hands. Jordan, what's going on, brother?
What up? What up? Glad to be here. Sorry I'm a little late to the party, guys. Man, this is an awesome speaker panel. Appreciate you guys. Stoked to have you all here. So thanks for coming. I think I've been listening to this, and you guys are absolutely freaking brilliant. And it's fun to be listening in. I think it's really interesting, and I'm on one hand like terrified, and on the other hand exceptionally excited to see what's going to happen, because you kind of have this battle of centralization versus decentralization. You have this balance between regulation and non-regulation, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I am concerned about, and I think there's a fine line you dance between market manipulation and capitalizing on what's in place. And I think we have to be careful on how we portray people, and if we vilify them or just say, hey, look, this is what's here, and these guys took advantage, they capitalized on an existing system. And it'll be really interesting to see what the community and what the space does following this. But I think we can all, you guys brought up incredible points on the dangers of what we're seeing right now. So
Jordan,
Jordan,
before we move on,
Jordan, I got a question. It's really important, Walker, so I got to interrupt you. Jordan,
go ahead.
What's your sneaker game looking like? Because we were talking about that with your sister a couple weeks ago, and like I'm concerned for you. What's the sneaker game today?
I'm wearing Common Projects right now. When I see you, I will make sure I'm wearing Jordans.
Good God, please do, bro. Like I can't see you in any other shoes. Like your sister was wearing Dunks, like fire, and I was like, Jesus, my brother's using the fucking blender in the background. Talk about this is a serious space right now. I'm talking to a bunch of cartoon friends on the internet, bro.
Well, Joker, his shoe game will never be as good as mine. I'll see you in LA. I should be out there probably by the 13th, and I'll show you and Jordan how it's done. And on that note, Jordan, you're an attorney by trade, and I just want a little insight, if you would, to what the differentiation is between like the legality on an okay wash trade, right? Like we're here to make money, we're here to take advantage of the system, and an illegal action.
I love you, man. Thank you for giving me a shout out on being an attorney. And as an attorney, I can tell you I am not an expert when it comes to securities and the Howey test and all that. And I will say, talk to your own counsel, do your own research, and I will not be commenting on that subject matter. Love you all.
And that is Jordan, great for the entire space. Up next, dude, we have the intro.
Walker, I gotta ask, bro, because you just slipped that comment in there. You were like, in your southern drawl, you were like, hey, don't worry, I'll be out to LA and show you guys how sneaker game is really done. Like, seriously, you're gonna bring that fucking heat to California? You better come correct with something like legit, bro, because that's a massive.
Look, Joker, I've seen your shoe game. It'll be way more proper than what you've got.
Dude,
boy, let me tell you, I'm coming for you.
Joker's got a room dedicated to shoes, walked up to the ceiling of boxes. Yeah, I think you're about to be humbled real quickly, bro.
Dude, that's absolutely phenomenal, because my whole intention here is to get Joker out to NFTLA. Everybody on this call, really hope we see you there. It's going to be a fun event. So if Joker shows me up on my shoe game, I'm going to give him. I'll give him a floor 10K TF. But you have to show up to NFTLA.
What if I just show up to all the cool events around NFTLA, but not to the bullshit NFTLA itself? Does that
As
count?
long as I'm invited, that's the deal. We'll talk after the show. Enzo, what's going on?
Oh my god. Dude, my sneaker game is awful, so I will not go anywhere near you guys. So I'll stay away from you guys with the sneaker game. But I just wanted to bring up a point that I think Joker was talking about. People adding royalties directly onto their contract. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a developer a week after everything went down between Blur and OpenSea going to like 0.5% royalties or whatever. And what they were saying is you can implement royalties directly onto your contract if you're a new collection. Now, it screws up with the OG's collections because if you didn't write that into your contract already, you can't go back and write it. You have to, at that point, deploy a new contract. But for all the new collections dropping, you can reach out to your developer, and I'm not sure how hard or easy it is to just put the royalties directly on the smart contract, so that no matter what marketplace you're using, you still get royalties no matter what that marketplace is doing. But yeah, I think that's going to be one of the bigger things that we see come out from everything that's been going on so far. And if you can't figure out a way to put royalties on your contract right now, then I think the next best thing for you to do is at that point would be to make your own marketplace on your website somehow, or or like a third option would be, if you have a really strong community, reach out to your community and see if they're okay with all getting like the contract redeployed, because with royalties added to it. But yeah, those are three solid options that will happen in the future, is depending on what happens with each marketplace.
Enzo,
Thank you,
there's a
Enzo. And before we continue, we have another hand up. My boy, Cyrus Abraham.
What's up?
How you
Sorry,
doing,
I
brother?
just go by Cyrus, but I'm good. No, what's up, babes? I just wanted to chime in on the conversation because, like, I think a lot of you like hit it on the head. It touches me personally as well because about 11 months ago, Supreme Kong got rugged hard, and then I took over as the new owner. Right? Everyone just slaps it with the founder title. So since then, as a project where you take over, you have no funds. We definitely had relied on building up the brand, bringing back dignity, bringing back volume, add the utility. You're making the royalties, right? And so when you're building off those royalties, and just to fast forward, we launched like 2 utility collections and our 4th in December. We never thought that they would take the royalties away, right? And especially on these OG projects dating back to a year, it really hurts. Now, to what Enzo said, and this is interesting, is on our Supreme Kong 2 contract we deployed in December, we had written in the contract royalties baked in. But even with that, and we even made a ticket to OS, they're still bypassing it even when we show them the code at 0.5. So it's curious to see how many other products that launched within a month of this change, how if OpenSea also bypassed what they have written in their contract. So I thought that was also interesting to bring up. But what I think is, and this is to Joker's point, what's interesting is, like, in the middle of this pissing match between Blur and OpenSea, there's, it creates opportunity, yes, for new marketplaces to emerge, right? Creators are now looking for a home. But in this interim, what happens, Walker, if 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 months goes by and there's no other new player emerge? In my opinion, hundreds and hundreds of projects, if not thousands of projects, will die in the meantime, right? They're going to have to fire staff. They're going to have to downscale. They may not be able to, can execute on their deliverables, like the whole thing gets pretty sour. So, back to the ethical question, is it really ethical what everyone's doing? I think that's up for debate on an exchange level, right? Like if they had said, guys, in 4 weeks, we're going to switch it to 0%, at least it would give people time to maneuver, right? Because some projects, a lot of them, they're not incorporated. They're not real. Other projects that are doing it right, they are incorporated. People are on salaries. There are contracts. And so I think it was pretty fucked up, excuse my language, like what they did. And in the meantime, at least what we're resorting to is just going into IP plays, rev share deals. To Enzo's point, and what we talked about OpenSea, they were like, well, why don't you just go back and redeploy your 3 previous contracts? I'm like, dude, there's about 4,000 in ETH total traded across these contracts. You want me to just go redeploy, wipe a year plus of history, pretend like it's no big deal just to appease to, this situation that you guys are doing? So, Enzo, like to your point, if you have a strong community, can they get by with redeployment? I'm sure they can, but then you also lose 1 year of written data out there as well on a redeployment. So, I think, yeah, building your own exchange is probably the way to go, but you're also going to pay a pretty penny to make that happen. And then once you make that happen, you would then still have to convince your people to use it, pay you royalties. Even the best of people, right, when they're faced with that option, they're still going to opt to save. And why use your thing that you spent 100K building when OpenSea and Blur will let me list and sell at 0.5? So just a very interesting conversation. Wanted to share my take. And yeah, let's hop over to this other hand.
Dude, great value, Cyrus. Thank you so much for being here. And I know these speakers have a lot to give. Anon, you got your hand up. What's going on, brother?
So another conversation that goes hand in hand with the marketplaces is the curations for the digital art that have been popping up. So you have memes by 6529. You have notable Pepes by Vince Van Doe. You have Noble Gallery by Artifaction and Matt Caesar. You have Babylon by Zero. There's probably a few more that actually just launched in like the past week or so, like Reviver, End of Sartoshi's doing his thing. Anyway, what I'm getting at is this conversation of curation is really interesting, and whether or not it's especially with editions, not one of ones. So we're talking mainly 1155s. Is it essentially a cash grab when you're, again, trying to present something as a non-fungible token when in reality there is no provenance, there is no serial number associated? 1155s are all the same. The way that they're displayed is one image that everyone kind of almost like fractionally shares. And so these curations continue to charge, continue to take royalties, well, up until recently, now that OpenSea is not protecting them anymore, while also, investing, or not, sorry, not investing, while also basically front running, like, airdropping to themselves. And so, again, it's kind of like, who are we really following? Who are we really allowing to lead this charge of decentralization? Because I kind of think we're getting misled in some ways. Like, I revere the people that I just spoke of, and like, I think they've done amazing things for the space, but I also think that the curation model is really backwards, really twisted as far as like who's actually benefiting from it. Sure as hell is not the collector. It's really not the artist either. It's just the curator, which is really like the middlemen that we said we were going to get rid of in Web3. Just saying. But the other part of that, right, besides ethical curation, is so I'm currently doing something with Arsenic, and Arsenic has Sergeant Pepe World, which they just did a drop for in Looks Rare token on Looks. So to add to the marketplace wars, now it's like starting to compromise the artists and how they approach things. And I would imagine that has, an effect even on the art itself and how it is perceived and how it is proliferated. So like all aspects of this ecosystem right now are really being like challenged. And I think it starts with greed, quite honestly. Like I really think it just starts with misaligned intentions and incentives.
Wow, dude, You have it. You have it right, man. I mean, that's the issue with any industry, right? I mean, I think even like boil it down to capitalism, right? Like there's a lot of problems that we go through, and so moving into Web3, like the whole initiative here was to solve that through decentralization. What are we doing wrong? You know, we've talked about a few like central parties, but like how do we solve it? For the speaker panel, how do we move to a place where this is what we all came for?
So I think there's nothing we have to do. I think we're just going to get there. It's going to get cleaned up because we're so early. You see a lot of mistakes. You see a lot of things that are wrong, but we all know that something's going to happen that's pretty good, that's pretty large. And a lot of the big investors are already here. Like, I don't know, people don't talk about it. Murdoch, who's, I think he's number 30 richest people in the world, is $80 billion strong. He has an entire company made for Web3 called Acropolis, or a chicken project. Only sold out 35% so far. Could care less how much they sell out. They already have $2 million per episode put away. I just had a space with Matthew Bilfield, who's on the project right now, and they don't care about selling out. But nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about these major companies that have come to Web3 because they're not giving us that quick Bored Ape pop or that CryptoPunk pop. These companies are here for the next 20, 30 years. So what's going to happen is going to happen. You're going to see somebody like Coinbase or Crypto.com or Fidelity or Charles Schwab merge with one of these guys, and we're going to be centralized. And for anybody who thinks we're decentralized and nobody knows where you're at, and we're Anon. I don't know. The only person Anon maybe Anon, but everybody else is pretty centralized. So I think there's not much we could do. We could keep having these conversations. It's great, discuss. Like Cyrus is one of my friends, and he's got a great project, and he's been working his butt off of a project that was rugged. He took it over. He's got an amazing community, and he is depending on some of those royalties to take care of some of those finances that he has to handle on a monthly basis. Because if he has to go deep in his pockets to take care of all that, that hurts, and it's not good. So it's not just the artists; it's people that are drawing, people that are making memes, people that are creating websites, people that are doing contracts that are going to suffer for this. So I think there's got to be a fix to this, but I don't think there's much we can do. I think it's just going to happen because we've seen this happen. I think that our whoever's looking over, whether it's Ginsler or whoever it is, they don't get it. They don't get it because like Blur is confusing. Because when you do this wash trading, whatever's going on, they're dropping the token. So it's not like they're giving you money. So I think these people are probably looking over here, what's going on, and they're confused. But sooner or later, they're going to find another Sam and they're going to smack him in the head, and we're going to clean up. So I think it's just a little bit of a patience game. We might have to go on vacation for a week or two.
I'm going to give a quick hot take. This might be a little triggering, but when it comes to anonymity in Web3, like, I think we often like misconstrue that as something that is imperative or something that needs to be protected, when I think it should be a choice. Like, if you look at the artists of Web3, most of them are not anonymous because, quite frankly, they would like to be perceived for who they are and their story and their likeness and whatever. It might be a little polarizing, but I feel like, anonymity is where a lot of people are able to take advantage of the system, or able to exploit the system and be hide and be veiled behind that. To take it a step further, I think it should be a choice, and I don't think there should be anything frowned upon if people choose the path of KYC, where you know who your community is, and you all are signing into the same agreement, the same social contract, and you can actually do decentralization the right way. And I'll admit, I don't know all the ins and outs of how you actually ensure the decentralization of who is the like the leadership, who is in control of that organization or that group of people. Like, not claiming to have all the answers, but I think that's the theory, is that it's a choice. You can choose to play in the casino and choose to play in the Wild West and choose to like have this level of sovereignty and autonomy and freedom, but there's going to be a natural risk that comes from that. Know what you're signing up for. That doesn't have to be the path that everyone takes. And that's where I think the alternatives really need to be focused on. That's where more people are going to feel comfortable coming in, is when they feel secure, when they feel reassured that there's some level of protection, there's some level of consideration for, their own values, their own security, really, like financially, emotionally, psychologically, what have you. We choose, most of us, to play in a world of anonymity and a world of unpredictability and volatility. Like, we signed up for it. Notice, most people are not signing up for it. There's a reason for that.
On point.
It's hard, man. It's not for everybody, but innovation, change is very difficult. And we're here because we're front runners, right? We're accepting that shift in the psychology and in the in the motivation for humans. Like doing. So as we get to that, if there's anything any of the speaker panel would like to bring up, I would love to hear from you. One thing Bermuda brought up earlier that I would love to on: why gamers are NFTs originally NFTs. I think you guys has done a really great job at shifting that, and we've seen the narrative grow. They just saw an individual receive, basically $1+ million for a win, but why, like, gamers not like NFTs?
I mean, I don't know if I'm rugging or not, but my take on it is that they just don't understand it. And they think that it's going to ruin the fun in gaming. And I think that that's happened for a lot of Web3 games, is that they're just not even close to being fun. And people are in denial, pretending that it's fun. And so when you go online at the end of a long day and you turn on your PC or your Xbox and you play with your boys, whatever game you're playing there, that's the game that's fun. And until those games have NFTs, it's not going to really be widely adopted. And for a lot of people, when they deal with money versus just jumping online and playing, Fall Guys or Fortnite or whatever the game may be, that's their version of fun. And then when money comes into play, maybe it stresses them out, whatever it could be. So I think the best way to start is to start small. And with the battle pass, it's like, hey, if you play your way through the battle pass, you've now earned enough V-Bucks or XP or whatever the currency is in that game to then get the next season's battle pass. If that was sellable to other players, maybe that's a start, right? So it's like, like, I grinded for this specific armor, and now that I have it, that armor is going to give me another 3 months worth of the next battle pass. And it'll start to kind of grow from there. For the top percent of gamers, it was really, something that once they found out that they can make money on it, everybody in their 6 degree circle kind of jumped on board very quickly. And it was like a watershed moment watching these, Fortnite pros jump on a Dookie Dash. And it's only a matter of time before other pros hear about it, other pros jump on board, because before this, the only ways that they could make money was, especially me growing up, like, it was tournaments, and then it was brand deals. Like, back in the day, it was like G Fuel, Monster, like every gamer was sponsored by Monster. And then outside of that, then you had the streaming generation, and that was their secondary source of income, was like Twitch, YouTube, Mixer. And now we have this third option that's never really been here before. So a lot of gamers just don't like it because it's not at that level of fun. And then for the top percent of gamers, they just never really understood it. And I think this is their first opportunity. But I'll be the first person to tell you, these Fortnite players don't consider this fun. It's work and it's a grind. Now, these guys are staying up 24 hours straight playing the game. It's not like they're going on to go have fun playing Dookie Dash. It's work for them.
I think that's how anything is that you win at, right? It always seems easy to the outsiders, but it's not easy on the inside. I think we know that well in Web3. People look at the big NFT They look at the big crypto. Oh, you got lucky. No, we spent and listened to Nason tell us that this would make it. That we were absolute idiots. I know I heard that, even from my family. And I think it came from a place of love. But it definitely hurt. And it's hard. So what do you got going on, Enzo?
Hey, so just a quick, like from my point of view, because I had a friend who was in the NFT space before me, um, and I live in Uruguay, so like if you think there's only a small population of people in the NFT in the United States, like there's an even smaller population in Uruguay. I'm lucky I have two friends that are in the NFT
Andrea
space.
has 5 friends anyway.
Yeah, aside from that, from my lack of friends, the lack of friends in NFT, so my friend was actually in the NFT space playing. I don't know if any of you guys ever got into Plants versus Zombies. Like he was playing that game. This was a year ago, a little over a year ago, and he got into the NFT space because of that game, and he was making money on that game because there was a token. When that token just wasn't feasible enough, he was like, "Oh, this is a scam," and left. So I think, aside from the games not being fun, I think people just get into the NFT space because there's a financial motive to get in and don't see that there's a technological motive behind it also. The technology that NFTs provide, that smart contracts provide, it like outweighs the financial gain by a long shot. For me, and I know for other people, like some people are here for the financial gains, which we all want to make a dollar. We're all here for that. But there are some people that are here because of the potential that the technology has to move us along. And like I think gamers don't see that yet. They're like, oh, this is a game and it's a pretty boring game, and it doesn't give me it, like nobody else that I know is playing it. So yeah, once the gamers switch their mindset to there is some amazing technology here to be speculated on or brought up into like normal everyday life, that's when I think more gamers will start to emerge into the space. We have to, and again, this is just like my viewpoint from like what I saw happen with my own friends. So yeah, I think once we provide them the information about what the technology is capable of, and what owning your own assets provides for you, like you were saying earlier, like having a skin that you grinded for and then you can sell for a profit. I think that's when we can do that, that's when we'll be able to get a majority of the gamers on board into the NFT, into the Web3 space. We have to show them that it's not only financial gains, it's a technological gain for the advancement of the humankind.
Thank you, Enzo. And I agree, man. You're a very strong piece of the Metatope team and of the entire community in Web3. So thank you. And is there anything else that the speakers on this panel would like to add to the discussion? If not, I think this is a great time for us to win off, and we'll be back next week at 6 p.m. Eastern. Every Thursday, we're showing up, we're showing out, and we're getting down. With no further ado, thank you guys so much for being here. The speaker panel is absolutely from the Enzo to the Anon, Bermuda, Jordan, Cryptomatic, Fitty. Guys, you really have provided so much value to me. I feel like I'm in a mastermind every time that we do this. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next fam. See you in Metatope.
Thanks for having us up here. Appreciate you. Great space. Love the conversation.
Yeah, cyberpunk. Yeah, I mix my ETH with Polygon Pythagoras. MetaMask. Yeah, crypto cash. Yeah, I seen the metaverse through Metatope, my eyes a megaphone. Customize my empty skin to optimize my flesh and bone. Phase 1, evolution, revolution. Smart contracts inside your smartphone. Phase 1, evolution, revolution. Help me ET phone. Whole body markerless motion capture. The metaverse broken after the Metatope golden era. The whitelist still open, hurry up what you need, golden chariot. Holy virgins that's holding cherubims, paving the road with fairy dust. Create the avatar of your wildest dreams, yeah. And use it inside your live stream. And all your metaverses, favorite games in widescreen. Metatope, visualize your digital ID. I seen the metaverse through Metatope, my eyes a megaphone. Customize my empty skin to optimize my flesh and bone. Yeah, Metatope is your mirror to the metaverse. Yeah, I seen the metaverse through Metatope, my eyes a megaphone. Customize my empty skin to optimize my flesh and bone. Metatope.